Hi, welcome to Utter Tripe with your host, Yaz
and Stef, and we're bringing you Confessions of a Raw-Fed Dog Mum. Good morning, we are at Unit 88. I'm holding my little mic because we are filming for the first time ourselves.
Yeah, we haven't got Olivia to kind of keep us on track, so fingers crossed we do alright today.
Fingers crossed we're alright, so we are at Unit 88.
This is going to be the first time that this company has allowed behind the scenes access. Oh my goodness.
What's this? Do not cross.
Do not cross the red line. Authorised personnel only. I'm pretty sure we're authorised. Oh, hi Ian.
Hi guys, you alright? Dash to put this PPE on for us.
Right. Who are you? Who is this face, people?
I am Ian, the Managing Director of Alexander's Naturals.
Oh, there we go, people. If you haven't worked it out, we are at Alexander's Naturals. We are going to be going behind the scenes. We've got some kefir to be looking at, some bone broth. So we're super excited to share with you everything that goes on behind this man's company. Oosh.
I love it. Time to get our PPE on. People would they? I don't know if they'd pay. I don't think they'd pay. Oh, never mind.
Ian is going to take me through one of the first areas of the Alexander Naturals kitchen. Yeah. Take it away.
Right, so this is our pot wash area. This is where obviously all the cleaning and sanitising happens. So we've got a big dishwasher. It's about 84 degrees.
Oh, I like a big one. That's a dishwasher, of course.
Obviously, with the temperature it gets to, it ensures that everything's sanitised.
Yeah, so it's like consistent, isn't it? Yeah. Your cleaning records, excellent. Talk to me about these signs. Why are these important?
Right, so with the first one is the stop and think is due to grease, because obviously with cooking bone broth, a lot of grease does come off it. Yeah. So we have to have grease management in place. This is where we produce all the bone broth. With the paws, the pouches and the soups. We pressure cook everything to try and get it done as fast as. So we go in the pressure cookers and they're cooked at about 110 degrees for 5 hours. And then obviously they're strained and then we get a second batch on because we do 2 batches a day.
2 batches a day?
Yeah, so as you can see, each pan holds about 15 pouches of bone broth, so we are literally trying to keep up with demand permanently.
To say how incredibly clean it is. The whole facility in here, from the minute I walked in, there's no smell. So there's nothing going on, even though literally behind me is finished product is being made. There's no smell. It's so clean. There's no grease. There's no fat. There's nothing anywhere. That's how it should be. But I think it's really important to point it out that actually this is what, even though we're making pet food or pet products, doesn't mean that you just down the quality. No,
well, the quality of pet products, because we've all worked in the catering industry for years, and the quality, we were shocked when we first started because there's a lot more regulation
it's harder to hit, isn't it? This is what we want to talk about in terms of just actually opening that up so people can see what it's like. That there is a lot of cowboys in our industry, unfortunately, and we want to show people what they're doing when they're doing it right, just how hard it is to keep hitting that. And it's like a month on month. It's not just, oh, we'll see you in 3 years.
No, it's not, no. And then when we do get inspections, we're invoiced for the inspection.
Yes.
So we have to pay to be inspected as well. It's not just as, everything to start out with. Your pet feed, it is expensive, and it's ongoing expenses as well. It's not just let's make a product and sell it
and pop it out into the market.
I mean, for salmonella and enterobac consistently, random sampling, the cleanliness.
So it's safe going into people's homes.
Exactly. So the only things we have to, the only thing you have to do in a kitchen is you have to deal with the environmental health, whereas we have to do trade and standards. We have to deal with them and DEFRA coming and doing inspections all the time to make sure everything is up to scratch. So it's actually, there's a lot more regulation that goes into dog food. So it's not just as easy as just walking in and setting a restaurant up. It's actually harder to do. Right. So obviously once it's depressurized, so it cooks. Have an alarm go off after 5 hours. We turn them off. And we release the pressure valves. So as you can see, one of them is already starting to bubble there. It comes out the fridge.
Yep.
We cool it down, so we put it on the racks behind you.
Okay.
We'll put it in bowls, skim as much of the fat off as we can.
Yes.
Discard the fat, and it goes into a fridge, which we can turn. It's a fridge/freezer.
Okay.
We can turn it down to minus 26 degrees, and after a few hours, it sets like a jelly.
Yep.
Once it sets into a jelly, it goes into a pan. It's gently melted back down.
We're on the production line here. Talk us through what's happening, what we're doing.
So what's happening is the duck bone broth is being basically turned back to a liquid, so it's a lot more pliable, it's easier to pour. You just can't put jelly into them and it not be very messy. So it goes through the muslin cloth, and then as you did, the lads are pouring it into the 500ml packages using a 500ml jug. So you know, if it pretty much fills the packet to pack it up. So Gavin is pouring it into the jug, and Si's over there sealing it, and if you notice, every time he does actually seal it, he gives it a bit of a pressure test.
Okay.
That's just to make sure that you don't defrost it when you get home, and it just bursts everywhere, basically.
Right, okay.
That's the last thing we want. But yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that. We are literally pouring it into packages, getting it sealed, and then it'll be frozen within the next couple of hours, ready to go to our dish. Delivery comes in, we lift the shutters, we pull it in on the pallets, we move everything back, we bring the pallets in, they go directly into the raw freezer, which only contains raw product.
Right.
And then everywhere's, you know, the floor's mopped, everywhere's sanitised, the line's put back, and then
this is the first point of contact for your raw materials.
Yes.
You bring the pans over, raw material goes in, so then it's contained in that pan, and then it's a cooked product. It's finished
Once it's
perfect.
finished, it's been. This is our dehydrator. It's our,
I was going to say, big daddy machines then.
Yeah, we've.
Not your average household dehydrator.
No, it's not. Mine's got 3 tiers and is made of plastic, not metal.
To be fair, we started out with little Excaliburs.
Yeah.
And to be fair, we had 4 of them, and they were doing well. But as demand went up, and obviously with having such a big distributor, like Durham Animal Feeds, because they will be taking the product on as well, we need to basically keep up with demand. It's hard, obviously, with Excaliburs to produce the demand.
So we've just been into raw materials, which leads us nicely on to what I'm looking at behind me, which is your freezers, which I love freezers.
This is our raw freezer. All our freezers are labelled. That's another thing we have to do.
Come and have a look at these labels, because this is what I noticed when I came in, how everything was labelled.
Again, being DEFRA approved, we have to have them labelled. As one of the rules, which is as silly as it sounds, is if somebody broke into our premises and stole goat bones, for example, went home and ate them and got unwell, they could sue us.
Interesting. We can't mix finished product.
Yeah, we can't. There has to be separation.
Yeah.
Hence why there's a whole raw area and a cooked area, and basically different production lines. And raw has to go in this freezer. All the bones and the beef liver, and obviously we have to put category 3 animal byproducts on the doors. That's a regulation.
Could you just explain this to me for anybody who's listening who doesn't know what that means? Because obviously I think people are worried about, especially the byproducts bit.
The category 3 animal byproducts, once you produce a food for a pet, it's classed as a Cat 3. Once that human grade milk comes into our premises, it's classed as a Cat 3 animal byproduct. And it literally is just legislation that changes, that makes the difference from one product to the next.
It means that obviously these items then, if you didn't use them or what have you, you couldn't put them back into the human food chain.
No, we couldn't. We'd literally have to just dispose of them, as with our bone waste company. Obviously our waste, we have to keep all our records. So every bone that comes into our premises, we basically we keep records of it arriving. We keep records of the process, and then we keep records of it leaving to the waste company. So from when the animal's alive to when it goes to, we do anaerobic digestion, we send it off to Biffa, and it basically gets converted into energy.
Nice.
So once they do that, DEFRA needs to know from when the animal's alive to where it ends up through the whole process. So it's about record keeping as well. So we bins are also another expense. We don't want to keep obviously bins on site just in case something happens, so we try to keep everything in the same category. Basically, if you go to a restaurant and you get the food waste bins, they're classed as category 3.
Right.
So all your bones and stuff that have been cooked and want to get discarded of, I think it's the less usable it comes down the chain. But obviously because we're a pet feed manufacturer, we get tarred into the same category as pet feed manufacturers. So as you know yourself, they probably don't always use the best ingredients.
No, well this is it. So can we have a look at some of the raw materials? Shall I slide it off? I'm looking at this ramp, so I'm knowing that pallets coming in here because there's a ramp.
So basically they're literally stacked floor to ceiling.
We'll keep them shut just so that we're keeping the cold in. But yeah, so they're in crates.
Stacked from floor to ceiling in different sections. So obviously we have lamb bones, beef bones. I don't actually know where everything is. It's the staff who do that side of it. But yeah, that's pretty much our work. So we keep everything. We keep everything in their own little section. It's easier obviously with checking stock as well. So if we run low on something, you can identify it straight away, because I mean it's a nightmare then, because we start getting asked for products, and because we didn't realise it was going low, we're letting people down, which is what we don't like to do.
What's the temperature in there? What should you be hitting?
Well, we keep it about between -18 and -20 at all times.
There'll be a temperature control on the side, which is just in the corner.
Yeah, so it literally, got a temperature control down there. So we set it, I think it's set at -18. So it just gets stored completely frozen solid until obviously we're about to use them.
Obviously, any freezers, they're fluctuating, because we talked about this, I think, last time, about how that if they're just constantly running at 18, or -18 should I say, that they're just going to get blocked up and frozen up, and so they have to do a little defrost. That's a standard.
Yeah, they've got it set on a defrost cycle. I think ours has six or 7 a day. Just defrosts the motor and then
goes again.
And it keeps it efficient, basically.
So we've got our next freezer, which is, I'm reading, processing freezer.
Yeah, so this is basically where we process everything. So these will basically go into crates. We lie them on the back. Obviously, so you can see it. It looks nice, the presentation, and the bubbles behind the label. It's always going to have a bubble due to the top. So the bubbles behind the label. So when you actually flip the whole packet, it's
looking at broth.
Completely full. Yeah, you can see everything. So they will get laid on their back and basically frozen over the next couple of hours. The paws, they will go onto the trays, onto the tray stacks, and then they will just be poured. Depending on what flavour we're doing. Trays go onto obviously the racks over there, and then they get frozen within a few hours, really. Depending on in the summer, it takes a bit longer than the winter, as you know. Your freezers do struggle in the summer. So
they don't like the warm weather.
No, and they don't like being opened. They
don't. No, you've got to be in and out. That's why you have the flaps. They're a pain.
Yeah, well,
but then flaps.
we can't actually have.
She's lost it.
we can't have them in this freezer. That's why it's more of a nightmare, because we're carrying trays, and it's like you'll see obviously in a minute when you pour the paws. As soon as they get banged, it's over the top. It slows production down. It makes it look awful once the products are actually finished. And that's much how we do it.
So what have we got next?
So next
I'm
is
another door.
Yeah, next is the storage fridge. It's just where we keep obviously the milk and the fruit. We don't really store milk. We get it every day. We go and buy milk.
Yes.
We use the same day. It comes in, gets used,
and
bottles get put in the bin, and that's it. So this is just obviously in case if anything was to happen, it's got to be on the door. So you know, if I don't know, our staff didn't come in or whatever, you know what I mean. We've got somewhere to store it basically. And it's got fruit in there as well. It's not on the label, but basically it's
is it?
Yeah,
it is on the label.
Underestimating myself. So so it's just where we keep our fresh products. That's
nice.
literally it.
Yeah.
What should a pet owner be looking for when they are buying pet food products and stuff?
Right, so there are obviously a lot of regulations that go into your label, like everything else. So when you're picking up a product, you should always have the composition, which is an ingredient list. It should tell you exactly what's in the product. The analytical constituents will tell you what's left in the product. Basically, it goes through a test, so it's got like your fat, your protein, your fibre. Storage instructions, we just like to put that on there. Feeding guides, you need to put on there so people know how to use your product. Basically, a lot of people will pick a product up and ask what it is. So if it's on there, it's a lot more self-explanatory for people. You have to have not for human consumption if you are aiming towards pets. Same with human grade products. If you have a human grade product, you are not allowed to advertise it for pets either, because it hasn't gone through the regulations. It hasn't been tested for salmonella, it hasn't been tested for enterobac. So obviously it works both ways. So you can't say something's for humans and for pets at the same time. It doesn't exist. If you are DEFRA approved, it has to be on the packaging. If you're not DEFRA approved, you shouldn't be doing it. It's that simple.
Why is it important that people are checking that whatever products they buy for their animals has a DEFRA number on it?
Well, it's important because everyone who is DEFRA approved have gone through the right steps, they're doing the right things. If I weren't DEFRA approved now, I wouldn't have to send my products off to be tested by a lab. So if I then can't physically have a salmonella fail because nobody's testing it. So if you're not testing your products, there's no guarantee that you're not passing salmonella on to anyone else. Whereas when you're random sampling all the time, it's literally just random samples from different random batches have to be sent off. If you have a fail, you have to recall that whole batch. And then you have DEFRA at your door. Come round, inspect, everything then needs to be cleaned and sanitised, production has to stop, and then you've got to go back to regular testing weekly to make sure your products are safe again. So if it hasn't got a DEFRA approval number on it, then the chances are it's not getting tested the way it should be.
Something were to go wrong, this is talk to us about why a batch number is important.
So every batch that we do, so you can see Si and Gavin doing the duck bone broth. So what we'll do is we document it down we've got basically like a due diligence sheet. Keeps all of our freeze temperatures, what temperature the broth was cooked at, what products were done that day, and on that date, if you look, it'll have a date on there. It's an actual date, so we'll know where basically what bones, what batch came in, what pallet them bones come off by putting the date it was produced.
You can trace it right back to the source.
So this is a production date plus a year. So it's easier on the packaging. So we have a production date and we add the year onto it, so it's also our use by date. So it's a lot easier.
that it's all done by hand as well.
Yeah, we use, obviously, it's like the ancient way of doing it, using grains. You can get loads of people who use powder cultures. This also isn't pasteurised after it's fermented either, so it retains all its probiotic culture in there. That's obviously the idea of literally as easy as that. And then
so this just starts off as milk, this bit?
yeah, so these, what we do basically is all the little ones are at the bottom. So what we do is we put these into the jars. And then we simply add whole organic milk. And if we're doing goat's milk, then it's goat milk we use. Yeah, and that's simply it, and then that's left out on the side for 24 hours. And it turns into a thick yoghurt consistency, like a pouring yoghurt consistency. The longer you ferment it, the thicker it gets, but it can go too far, where it splits into like curds and whey, and then it's really sour once it gets to that point. And then if it ever gets to that point, it gets binned. Yeah. Because dogs just will not eat it if it's too sour, and that's pretty much it. So you're left with obviously really thin kefir, which is usually thicker, but it's been in the fridge for a couple of days. So that's the finished product, and that's your original kefir. If you get original paws, it's that poured into the packets, frozen down, sealed, labelled, and then sent out. Four litres of milk we use about a punnet of strawberries, and it basically gets to this colour. It does freeze a little bit darker. Yeah, and then it's literally blended in the blender and then added to a bowl. And the reason we do that is we used to blend them together in the blender, but it started knocking air into the kefir, which we'd then pour into the packets, and they were just not coming to weight. Basically, there was a lot of air knocked into them, so we had to change the method on them to make sure we were obviously reaching the weights that was said on the packets.
So it is time to say goodbye.
Ian's like, thank God.
And yeah, what a brilliant morning / afternoon it has been.
It's been ace. I've really enjoyed it. You've really enjoyed it.
I've loved it.
Loved it.
It has been good. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Oh my
so until next time.
See you soon, guys.
Bye. Yeah, I'm filming.
You are filming?
Yeah.
Come on, flower.
So you can eat. It's all night time. Livy's gonna have to do a lot of. Yes. Right. Duties are told. Olivia, it's not that button. Is it this button? Her eyes like.
Yeah, like, and tonight. It is the first time that this company, oh my God, switched off. It's absolutely driving me insane. Oh my God.
I don't know whether it's because right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Right. Okay. Right. Oh my God. Right.
Stay.
This girl. She had her Weetabix this morning.
I didn't.
No, she don't. There's a bit of a sore subject. Stef didn't have breakfast. Are we filming? Are we ready?
She's in.
She's in.
Right.
Yeah. Olivia, sorry. Okay. Are we on?
Yeah.
We're on.
I'm not taking you.
Oh, why won't you take me to prom?
I didn't say
Nine with that, mate. This way, you won't even take me to prom at the age of 29. Right, okay. Professional. So, am I hired? You don't look too confident. You Excellent.
Oh, this is kefir. Nigella Lawson.
Don't forget to like, subscribe and ring that bell to keep up to date with our latest raw adventures.